And one thing that's worth noting here as well, as we get into it map rotation-wise, first map is Busan, but second map now will be Assault, sort of taking over what Overwatch League has done as well. Means that you have less situations where it's like, you have a tie and the match is over, or the series is over.
You see now Tea Party, XL2 going to be rolling out. Tea Party actually playing 2-2-2 right now. They are playing the Ana Mercy. They do have the Pharaoh with that as well. XL2 playing much of the same.
So, both teams running Pharah Mercy here early on. Both considering out poke. Tea Party right now not going super deep. Neither is XL2. Both teams just feeling each other out. Gig maybe eating a bit of damage early on, but same the Tea Party, where you look on the other end. Tea Party going to shrug it on off. Ace of Spades moving in, and KSP going to get the first pick. Ash onto Pharah.
KSP taking that first pick with the help of Buds. Made it going to pick up the Ana. Maybe be able to find another. Playing very far back right now. They get the res, so Tea Party, they can play around the point even with XL2 moving forward, but as they say that speedily, picks up 2, it's done.
Vadian from the outside on the Widow, lands a shot. Ash though, high ground, finds another, and this has been pretty scrappy here thus far.
Very scrappy fight from both squads. Interestingly enough, like we talked about, running 2-2-2, though KSP on the Ash rather than the Widow. Doing a lot of work there for XL2 Academy. Going to be first flip and first fight for XL2.
Now, interesting to note here in terms of swap-ups, Buds, of course, is one of the new pickups for XL2, used to be on Skyfox, and he's on Flex Tank right now.
He is on Flex Tank, so definitely a role swap for Buds. Seen more traditionally on that DPS role for the longest time. Some Winston duel happening between Ace of Spades, between Gig and the new main tank pickup, going to be dropping that Primal.
Already both teams getting in there far, taking down his counterpart on the other side. KSP, though, on the Madian. Sleep onto Ace of Spades. And again, very chaotic fight here between both teams, but it's XL2 in control.
XL2 still controlling this, and no Gig drops that early Primal. They're still holding on point control. They're denying all of this presence to see the Bob come out for KSP, who now means Tea Party. They can't contest point because Bob is extremely good against some of these more DPS heavy comps.
Well, meanwhile, on the other side, you're going to see Mercy fall for XL2 as Spades will find a KSP, though, again! Striking on Ash, and been a good opening here for KSP.
It has been popping off and getting those frags. There's always a maiden, and now Tea Party moving towards the point here once again, using the bomb to zone.
Spades identifying the problem, and you're going to see Pharah sniped out of the sky from Madian on the other side. And this is looking pretty good for Tea Party as they look to recontest. XL2 still in control, but leading more heavily than they have all round long.
They are bleeding, but still, there's still no point flip for Tea Party. They're still trying to fight. You see the bout come out. Haku's going to go down to Ace of Spades, but the Nano's already out. KSP takes out a maiden. This is still very winnable for XL2, considering their health, considering the point presence.
Well, KSP swapping to the Widow. I don't think a Madian was expecting on the other side. KSP with good sightlines now, speedily back into the sky, and XL2, they're able to fight their way back in as KSP continues dominating the air.
KSP and Gig have been a dynamic duo so far in this. KSP continually winning duels, continually picking off those DPS players, while Gig has just not died. Gig just has not died. He's constantly been there for that presence.
KSP here in the back, and Tea Party unable to get back to the point. So, again, probably a more chaotic setup, but not 3-3 on both sides.
Not 3-3, not Somber Goats, not even triple DPS. It is the 2-2-2 for both squads, running a variation of the hit scan and the Pharah, which is something that we've seen various instances of throughout time, where you have the hit scan player and then you have your projectile player playing two sort of a spammy comp, where if they want to pressure your projectile, you have your hit scan player on generally Widow to get that space to punish those frags. But now it looks like both squads are going to be swapping to, well, Tea Party 3-3, but XL2 running the Maygoats.
So, our DPS era perhaps coming to an end here, at least for the next stage, but it makes sense because as we head in here to the base on Busan, it is much more closed in and much more favorable towards 3-3 than a wider open area.
New in here for the first fight. XL2 with Buds on this May. Their whole goal is to isolate someone with the wall. They almost catch Tea Party, try to catch Far there, but not just yet. As Gig goes down, but speedily also getting the return.
Tea Party just diving right on in. Buds doesn't quite get a great wall to start things off. XL2 already down one. But the wall here after, not too bad. Buys XL2 a little bit of room. Tea Party's still in control. They're going to move over to the point. But XL2 should be able to get a recontest before Tea Party gets full control.
Tea Party now rotating towards the point. Buds just not finding the value from those early walls. They weren't able to catch the isolation. There's the first flip for Tea Party. But what's more important than the first flip is winning the overall first fight here, because this is really going to be the first fight.
And I think that's why XL2, they could have gotten in the contested, but instead, they just want to stay on the high ground. Haku, though, catching some Zarya secondary fires on the top as he heal back on up. XL2 biding their time. Bud's going to drop on in, uses the wall, but is immediately taken down. It was an ambitious plan. Gig getting taken on down the other side, and it's going to be Tea Party not only winning first point, but also winning the first fight.
And that was a good read from Far, just catching Buds when he drops down. There's no bubble for him, so they can just punish him before he get ice block. They can get that early frag, and without the Mei, without that player, XL2 can't commit. And XL2, if they're going to be playing this Mei Goats, they can't be playing some split. They need to be initiating together. They need to be working with Buds to isolate rather than Buds being the leader or being the, the front runner for the squad. They have to move it together.
I mean, more than anything else, they just need quality walls to come on out, and they haven't quite had the opportunity. You can see the wall come out here. It's an okay split, but Tea Party able to work around it. Now they're just going to dive into XL2. Graviton is out, force out Transcendence on their side, but they still lose Gig. And now it's a 6-on-5, Tea Party in a very good spot, looking to chase down OG, going to find him. And once more, Tea Party taking the fight.
This is looking extremely good for Tea Party so far. Their ult economy has been strong as well. They've only had to use 1-2 ults to win these fights on top of already winning the first fight and the first flip. This is going to be XL's chance to recontest. There's no grab for Maiden, there's no rally for Far, which means they need to move in here, set up their Blizzard, set up their own grab, because they're not going to be counter-grabbed away.
XL2 moving in. Gig finds Ace early, 6-on-5. Could be a lean fight for XL2 ult economy-wise. You get the early pick-off, they can take their time. Tea Party, a lot of resources, but I don't think they want to spend it here. I think this might be worthwhile to let it go, especially with D.Va getting D-Mech there.
They could have made the choice right there for Fosmex to actually just commit the bomb, but they decide not to, which is the right call. They should not have committed anything there in that fight. They have 95%. XL2 now going to hold the doors with the Mei, and this is where the value of the Mei comp really comes into play, is holding choke points.
Particularly here on the stage, where I think even in the open early fight, Mei isn't the greatest. But once you have control, the ability for a Mei to dictate the terms and really make Tea Party think about their engage, powerful. And XL2, they seize the opportunity, they go in with the aggressive wall, they move in, they drop the Blizzard, Ace can find himself quite frozen, they're dropping the grab on top. And they invest quite a bit here, though, to take down Tea Party.
They invest a lot. I mean, sure, they removed the Transcendence there for Tea Party, but they just use Blizzard, they just use Shatter, they use Grab, they use so many ults in that fight. And the question now remains for XL2 is, how do you win this following fight once a Maiden gets grabbed? Tea Party can just enter. It's all on Buds' hands to get value from these walls now.
Well, I think you've answered your own question there. It's directly up to Buds. He has to get an incredibly good wall. They're moving on forward. Splits off one. I'm not sure that's quite going to be enough. The barrier hits off Tea Party, but they lose Blub! Blub going to be knocked out by OG. And XL2, they still have hope here at the early pickoff.
Now Tea Party's trying to commit. They actually do get the Shatter, force the beat from OG, but committing these fight here, you see the grab come out late. I don't think they can win this fight.
Transcendence in, everyone XL2 still absolutely okay. Moving on forward, Ace of Spades getting low, taken on down by Haku. And XL2 able to move forward, the wall preventing the retreat. And now it's Tea Party in a really rough spot. They're down to their final fight.
Tea Party decided to commit to that fight because they had that early pick and they forced the beat, but there was just no follow-up at all. Haku had the Transcendence, they didn't have the sustain they needed. A very interesting choice to commit for that fight for Tea Party. And now they're in a situation where if they lose this next fight, XL2's ult, their positioning along with the Mei, means that it's going to be almost impossible to win this round.
It's not even an ult-neutral fight, it's an ult-disadvantage fight where they have to get through the wall and they have to get through the Blizzard. Tea Party is in a very tough spot.
Tea Party going to enter from the high ground, try to rotate. They're going to need to rotate towards the point though, ZP, because the time, it's ticking down.
That was still a good rotation in. They faked out XL2, they don't get caught by the wall, so they dealt with the first part. The Blizzard, still a threat. Tea Party, moving in, it's overtime. Budge just casually moving forward, dropping the Blizzard directly through, and Fossman X, I think Fossman X is caught, gonna get frozen on their side, but meanwhile, they lose Gig. 5-on-5, still winnable here for Tea Party, but losing the D.Va mech. Their front line is decimated. Buds with room to work with. Transcendence in from Blub. They're looking for Buds, they take down Buds. Tea Party starting to fight this back a little bit. Rally in from XL2. We know, though, that makes teams a little bit more durable, especially in recent relevations coming in here, but Blub ends up getting healed up, and XL2, they finish it out.
And now is really just when you look at that there was no follow-up for Tea Party. Sure, they get to the point, but they can't clean anything up. They don't have the value they need. They don't have the ults they need. They're already down players. And that's XL2 taking the first map. Busan going their way.
So very back and forth, but also Tea Party letting go of what was an enormous advantage there.
I mean, when you look at that last round in particular, the most important part is they committed ults in a fight they weren't going to win. They weren't going to win ults in that fight where they had already lost Blub, particularly early. Even though they had Grab, they had Shatter. There was just nothing. They didn't have the Discord. They didn't have the heals. They didn't have the focus fire they needed. And from that, they just sort of snowballed without any ults.
So all in all, XL2 holding on despite Tea Party rallying at a moment.
And so now it's just going to be getting into the next map very soon. So first round, first map going the way of XL2. And XL2, their new roster, it is sort of comprised of some chicken contendies now known as Grunto. And I think for those pickups for them, they were finding a lot more value in that communication, in that value for them. They need those players.
No doubt about it. And, for XL2, I mean, it's still a good omen, right? Especially given how tough their season was previously.
We're going to be into our next map very soon. ZP currently shuffling away because we have a very, very loud alarm going on in our back line. We're getting a little bit distracted by that, but luckily it's been fixed now. So we're getting ready to get into our second map. And for XL2, we talked about how they changed this squad. They've changed their rosters. Obviously, only keeping Kirby and Haku. I think it's good to see a new fresh face from them, a good look. Because they are still going a little bit with that local, that tri-state narrative, the picking up talent from that area, and they do still have players from there. And they want to help develop that local scene. It's going to be Anubis as well. It's going to be the Assault map.
And of course, this is a new change for Contenders, as we had pointed out before, where Assault is second. And the reason is that Assault is game mode where you do see more draws. And there's always that dynamic where if you draw when one team is up to nothing, the series is over. So you keep the suspense up a little bit more likely that a team wins the series on a win as opposed to a draw.
And I'd like to see if XL2 want to run any more May Goats here, or particularly if they want to run more 2-2-2, because Anubis, especially the first point, and then once you get to last with the May, you can actually utilize both those strategies very effectively. Tea Party clearly having some issues versus the May on Busan, and second point, you can get a lot of value.
Be interested to see what the teams run out with here, where, I do think there's a general trend in Overwatch, not just at the Contenders level, but clear at the Overwatch League level, to run things other than 3-3 wherever possible, or at the very least run a Sombra-powered 3-2-1. Certainly we've seen that in Korea, where teams like Element Mystic have sort of spearheaded that style in recent memory. But we're going to head to Anubis, and again, we're kind of finding out quite a bit about these teams where there's not as much data, where they're, in XL2's case, it's a freshly rebuilt roster with new parts, and in Tea Party's case, a newer team to the scene, even though there are some older names.
And there was definitely some promising moments from Tea Party versus XL2. I think most obviously when we look at the matchups, KSP for XL2 was doing a lot of work on that hit scan, and also on the other side of Maiden as well, doing much of the same. So Tea Party finding that value, finding that work. It's like Tea Party actually currently, there's no way they're staying on this. Why is Ace of Spades on Widow and a Maiden on Winston? They're definitely going to be swapping here.
One would think.
One would think.
And yeah, the swap is going to be coming in. I think they were just hoping that maybe get an early pick off if XL2 is being too aggro, but XL2, a little bit too smart for that. And what do you think of KSP here in the Ash?
He did work before. He did a lot of work previously. Ash, for this first point, maybe not as strong as the Widow, but it does have that value in terms of getting away from the dive, getting away from the initiation for Tea Party. You see Tea Party actually be running Genji and Sombra, the 2-2-2 here again with Blub on the Ana. So those win conditions, looking for that Nano Blade, looking for that EMP, versus what is more of a bunker setup for XL2.
Dive going to be coming in here from Tea Party. Tea Party low getting very low, trying to crack the XL2 bunker. Instead, it's Ace of Spades that gets cracked in the head. Instead, KSP just casually moves back, speedily doing crazy work on the Torbjorn. And worth noting here that Buds was substituted out.
Yeah, Buds is currently not in. Now XL2 winning this first fight, though. The dive just not getting the initial value Tea Party needed. When you're working against this bunker comp, when you're working against KSP on the Ash and speedily on the Torb, a big part of this initiation is, do you get the poke? Do you remove those cooldowns early that allows you to come in? Because you have to collapse on one target. You can't just crack shield and then go, because Orisa is going to have a shield every second pretty much.
Well, and the other thing too is that there's so many obstacles to get through, where there's going to dive in immediately, get through the shield, but look at the damage they take on the entry. Fossman immediately going to be DMAC and speedily just in on it. The turret and the melee right after. XL2 just crushing Tea Party every time they try to dive in, and you don't always see teams try and dive in here. Oftentimes you'll see teams try and fight bunker versus bunker.
Bunker versus bunker, or what I really like to see Tea Party do if they're going to use this Sombra and they're going to be playing 2-2-2, you can actually utilize point presence and poke a lot more than what Tea Party is currently doing. They're sort of just going straight in for the dive, and if they're going to be going straight for the dive, I don't know why they wouldn't play a Tracer, maybe a different hero other than the Sombra. The Sombra is just better for those slower setups into the poke and building up those EPs and hacks, not even the point presence. Now Tea Party rotating. They do have their win conditions coming up on the Nano Blade and the EMP.
Well, I think it's absolutely vital that the EMP goes well here. It's only 1:49 left. If that's not the case, then the odds of them taking point A dramatically drop. Nano Boom's going to be coming in. Here comes the Blade. The EMP yet to be used. The EMP used right as far goes in. But Kirby on the self-destruct the other side catches one, and this is looking far better for XL2. The Nano Blade just doesn't do much.
XL2 have already won the fight. The EMP went out as well for Omadian, and they just didn't get anything. They did not find any value from there. You see the peel bomb from Kirby comes in, the Molten Core as well from Speedily, the Lava, getting some zone, Haku pops a trans. They just didn't get any early value. They didn't have the setup they needed. In fact, they popped Nano onto their Genji, onto that Blade, before they even had Blade. There was no Nano Blade initially.
Yeah, that was a very awkward engage. We're going to be seeing swaps from Tea Party, but this is the sad man goat swap where you've lost everything, you have no ults, and you go 3-3, and you hope that's going to work okay.
See the rotation coming in now for Tea Party, moving here. The goats going to be much better moving to try to remove them from the high ground, remove them from the bridge. XL2 holding strong. They do have a Supercharger versus what is going to be a Beat. Beat versus Supercharger, I almost always put the Supercharger in favor because you're going to win the shield war. At least you should.
Well, they end up using the Beat, but they're so poked down. Ace of Spades, the shield is done, and so is he. KSP going to finish him on off. Tea Party, though, moving forward. They've dealt the mech, they've dealt the Supercharger. Ashe is down. Still options here for Tea Party. Bossman, self-destruct in reserve. Speedily can be holding here in the back. Lose the turret, and the bomb right down Broad Street, right into the back. Takes down Gig. And Tea Party finding a way through here.
Tea Party finding the way through really off the back of Bossman. Even though Ace of Spades went down, he committed his life to remove the Supercharger, remove the positioning for XL2, and then Bossman just went and hunted KSP. A lot of value for Bossman in that fight, doing what was necessary, because what's so important for Tea Party when you're up against that bunker comp, especially with KSP on the Ashe, was Bossman has to be not only helping the engage, but then going and hunting those flankers, hunting those hit-scan players.
Well, we are going to see some swaps here from XL2, Speedily deciding it's not time for Torbjorn anymore. KSP staying on the Ashe, but that might just be for the Bob.
So there's a Coalescence and a Rally versus a Bob. Soon to be a Diva Bomb as well for Kirby. It's the entry for Tea Party going here from the flank. Moving the rest of XL2 towards the point in the side. But the closer you get the point, the stronger Bob can become.
Well, speaking of Bob, Bob just going to charge on out. KSP lets it fly. Dynamite out towards the middle. Tea Party turning Lavanov's Shatter coming in. Locks down Kirby. XL2 in danger. They lose Kirby early. Tea Party yet to be solidified. They use the grab. They take down more. And Tea Party snowball their way into point B.
That was off that ult engage. Tea Party just ignoring the Bob. Actually just moving forward, taking the fight into them. Treating it almost like you see teams do with Diva Bomb, where you'll engage Diva Bomb, then just rush into them because they don't have a mech. There's no mech. There's no Matrix. There is no damage. Tea Party making the right moves there to move forward while the Bob was out. They know they had the superior ult and health advantage there.
And honestly, not a bad recovery from Tea Party, where they have to be thrilled, on the verge of getting first held, and then not only do they get point A off the last moment heroics from Bossman X, but then they have enough to just snowball on the point B, and 3:15 on Temple of Anubis is actually a pretty respectable time.
Especially after a first hold like that, where we saw from XL2, they were having a successful bunker, and Tea Party were having some troubles breaking it. So it's B15 on the clock for Tea Party. And really, offense is great. It's very good to have a successful offense, but can you have a successful defense is the question for Tea Party.
Well, that always is the question here, where we'll see what flavor they decide to come out on. And it does feel like they really enjoy keeping Ace on Winston where possible. I mean, right now, it's looking like that's going to be their setup here on the defense, where you can definitely make it work on first point. Assault, you see it plenty of times, even in the Overwatch League on maps like Paris. I'm not sure I'd necessarily agree that it's the strongest flavor that you can go with relative to the current strength of things like Bunker with. It's sometimes what teams will run.
A lot of the value for this Winston defense for Tea Party is going to be based around making sure Ace of Spades gets the cooldowns necessary to contest and doesn't overcommit. You see Winston's very often, especially in the Contenders level, overcommit to try to get that tase damage on the entries, on the rotations for the offense, and they get picked because of it. So Ace of Spades has to be very careful with that.
Well, it's certainly going to be Ace of Spades on Viva Timer, but XL2 on the reach out. KSP was hoping to find an early pick. Not going to find it. Instead, going to be swapping off the Widowmaker. Now, I'm curious, is it going to be Ashe or Zarya? It's going to be Zarya.
Sombra Goats. Sombra Goats here for XL2. Oh, no, actually just swapping full 3-3. So full 3-3 for XL2. They see the Winston walk forward, ignore a lot of that poke damage from Tea Party, and run over Ace of Spades if we can find him.
Also, if Ace of Spades doesn't build a quick primal, you can just kind of overpower Winston composition, is what XL2 would be hoping for here. see XL2 go across the bridge. They're spending their time on long rotations, and that favors Tea Party to a degree.
It does. They do want to remove Tea Party supports from this high ground. You see now the rotation is going to happen. So now the supports are gone, the bubble used, and Ace of Spades actually picked up by Kirby because they just burst him down.
Just a little bit too deep, but you lose your Winston early. Tea Party now left with precious little to bring this fight back. Their supports both low to pressure on the back line, and they're trying to beam it on back. Madian here on the top, but already down 2. They take down the Rhine. It's possible. Madian working it up. They haven't dealt with the Zarya on top, and even though they have 2 ticks, Tea Party could drop on down.
Spins now if Ace of Spades is back. Ace of Spades is going to be back. Bossman good. They can test the rally out. If Madian can get the grab here, this is actually extremely winnable for Tea Party.
Yeah, they have the Primal on up. Ace of Spades just knocking them around in the inside building. Graviton going to be used. XL2, they don't have the Transcendence yet. Haku, is he going to be able to pop it in time? He uses Transcendence, but not in time to save the Diva. Still a fight that's winnable. Gig gonna drop the Shatter, knocks down 4.
Knocks down 4. The grab is out as well. This is definitely first fight for XL2. But really, if you're Tea Party, you can be happy. Even if the defense wasn't extremely long, you burnt ults out of XL2. There is really not a huge snowball potential without a grab, without a shatter, without even a trance.
Well, also, I mean, burning 2 minutes off the clock for point A, that's still a good defense. Is it as good as what we saw from XL2? No, but it's respectable.
And the impressive part about that is that Madian already has another grab, essentially. 90% to another grab after just using it on first, getting it so quickly there.
It's not bad for a Madian. I mean, a Madian was the reason why Tea Party was able to keep that even entertain the idea of bringing it back. Part of why they delayed as long, and I mean, so far it's been pretty decent Zarya play.
XL2 now rotating here from the flank and moving towards the point to pressure. They do have the rally. They're going to use that to engage. The question is, does Kirby use the defensive bomb? There's the defensive bomb. The beat, no follow-up possible. They can definitely win this fight with Ace of Spades down.
Bomb and beat working out really well for XL2. Buys them cover in the middle of the fight. Ace of Spades is down. 6 on 4. And this is looking real grim for Tea Party. They don't have anything that can really bring it on back here. They're going to drop the beat, but it doesn't save the Brigida. They're down 3. And XL2 just looking to solidify now on the point.
Madian actually coming out on the Reaper because, you know, Reaper's great against these tanks, as they say. Going to be coming out for the contest. The Trance is also out for Club. But with the grab, with the pin, this fight is done. It's cleanup time for XL2. Well played earlier by Kirby and OG. That defensive bomb plus the beat combo means there's no way Tea Party can get up the gap.
And I do think you need the combo something with beat to deal with Gravitons. If you don't have Transcendence, Graviton in general is something you can burst on through. And okay, they lose Haku here, but this is still likely XL2's fight. Tea Party doing a better job at delaying than perhaps expected here. Only 1 tick to XL2, and they still have to play well as spawners come back in. About to pick up the second tick, but you know, credit to Tea Party here for dragging it out as long as they have.
I mean, that's a huge credit out to actually to a Madian who managed to snipe Haku while on Reaper. That should never be possible when there's so many cooldowns that you have the team available. The contest still occurring for Tea Party right now. They have the May Ace of Spades on the Hammond. There's an anti-out to Kirby, but still the ult's building up for XL2. They eventually should win this fight against all odds. It's a question of how much delay is possible.
The focus fire for XL2 has been a little bit suspect at points here. I mean, it's been good delay from Tea Party, but just take down targets, as simple as it sounds.
Forehead, take down the targets.
But they pulse bomb in from Bossman X. They're giving Tea Party time to potentially swing the fight. Bossman's gonna fall. The Blizzard out. It's slowing down XL2 here. Shatter gonna be dropped. Knocks down another 2. But Tea Party, they just cannot fully evict them. It's like a roach infestation right now.
And Ace of Spades gonna be back, and then soon there's gonna be also another contest for Glove. Here comes Bossman as well. This is such a long stall for Tea Party. An incredibly good stall for Tea Party, but you have to look at that despite the forehead I dropped on UZP. You were 100% right. Where was XL2's focus?
It just was non-existent at some point. Just please focus on one target. Because yes, is Tea Party doing a good job of staggering back in to the point that they almost equalize the time? Sure. But on some level, you have to look at XL2 and just go, guys, please, you have an overwhelming numerical advantage. Focus on the right targets.
And also, under no circumstance, what also made that stall so effective and so lengthy was because Haku got killed by a Madian on Reaper. Yes. Which should literally never be possible when Kirby is not only in mech, but you have the Brigida and the Lucio to peel. It just should not ever happen.
And you know what helps for focus fire, especially when people are staggering in?
A Zenyatta.
Yeah, Discord Orb. Pretty good at that, in fact. Big reason why Zenyatta is usually picked. So
because of that stall, Tea Party's defense actually was it not as good as XL2's, but it was very solid.
I mean, as far as the game is concerned, it was solid to the point of only being worse by, less than 20 seconds.
So now, XL2 once again. To be on this defense, playing the bunker comp here again that they used on first was actually Speedily on the Mei. Wait, actually Speedily on the Mei. I don't believe Speedily was on Mei on their first defense last time. He was Torb.
He was Torb.
So this time they're going to be utilizing this Mei. It's not the same role. Rather than having Torb do all that damage and try to get that zoning ult, Mei, sure, you can still get the zoning ult with the Blizzard, but his goal is going to be to punish the dive. Especially with 3-3 for Tea Party now, isolate the initial engage for Tea Party, stop Ace of Spades from running over Gig.
I mean, Feely's just trying the single man, like, go through the Clockwork Vendetta comp. You can't get the Torb and Mei at the same time here, but go through one on each go. The wall blocks them, the halt keeps them away, but it only buys time at the end. Tea Party not too phased, and XL2, you have to back up as they look for another attempt at the split.
The fastest ult here for XL2 as well, the fastest charge is going to be KSP with the Bob. They need the Bob to get a lot of value as well to split the push for Tea Party. Speedily using the wall.
Ooh.
As Blum is down, and without the Moira, there's no way this push can happen for Tea Party.
It was an icicle to the head from Speedily, just caught him from the off angle, and Speedily gonna fall! 5-on-5, Tea Party, they're alright with this, even as Fossman is gonna get demeched. KSP, getting boosted in the back. And that's something we haven't really touched on, but a Mercy boosted Ashe is terrifying.
Mercy boosted Ashe, but also with the Dynamite in particular. It's not just the shots, it's the Dynamite getting so much value from the 3-3. Speedily coming back on the Doom now, just playing Mystery Heroes. Gonna be looking for this recontest, the Dynamite's out, the Bob is ready for KSP, he's just sitting on high ground.
Well, the Doomfist comes in and strikes Paydirt immediately, taking down one. And KSP uses the Bob for a little bit of extra control, and this should be enough to flush Tea Party out.
Even with Gig going down, the rest of the Tea Party are stuck here in the room on the mini. They're getting cleaned up slowly but surely. Speedily getting value on Doom. And Tea Party, sure, they get to point, but it took them so they lose players. They lose Fossman in particular. Losing that Diva while KSP is still up, while Haku is on high ground, means you can't dislodge. You cannot move those players from XL2 from the high ground without Fossman.
No, and I mean, XL2, they're playing around the Orisa quite well, all in all, and Tea Party, they're down to their final minute 20. They don't have as much time as they had in their first attack. Right now, they're just trying to break the Orisa shield, but this is a suspect way of trying to move in.
I mean, you also should not be trying to trade Orisa shield when you're running Moira, when you're running Moira 3-3. Your goal is to walk past the Orisa shield. You don't ever want to be trading with it.
So, bit of an interesting approach. Hulk going to pull everyone close together once more. KSP looking for the Dynamite over the top. Speedily jumps on in, jumps on out. Tea Party, they get close to the point, but they still get the pickoff. Speedily moving on in, punches the fountain, does not connect. They wanted Tea Party. Shadow gonna be dropped. Ace of Spades. XL2 though, just shrugging on off. Haku, good control, doesn't transcend yet. Transcends now as they dive in. Bossman out of the fight. Ace of Spades getting awfully low. Graviton invested here by Tea Party. They think they can win it. They take down two. No, just one off it. And now Tea Party trying to fight it on back after the Graviton. Meteor Strike coming in from Speedily. KSP still uncontested. Takes down two.
Still in a great position here as well. Tea Party, they're stuck in the room. The Dynamite in there as well. Needs so much value. Speedily, while he's still up, how does Tea Party exit this room without having to commit beat? They actually must sit here. They're getting some contest, but now the beat used, but they can't move anyone from high ground.
Well, they commit the beat, but they're just getting beaten up by Ashe on the other side. Now, Speedily goes a little bit too deep and falls, but they have to deal with KSP. No one is looking at him right now. Takes down Blueberry. Lucio, of all people, has to be the one to get into his face. But now, another Dynamite striking everyone. Bob about to be built up. Now, they finally deal with the Mercy. KSP without a lifeline. Bob coming in, the rest of his team falling. I don't think XL2 can fight this back, but KSP still needs to fall.
No, it's very possible now.
KSP gets two!
The Supercharger's out.
Working! Supercharger does enough, and XL2 off KSP, who is just uncontested, pulls it on back.
KSP just unable to be contested the entire time. You see, you called it at one point, Antol being the one to go contest him, losing his life because of it. And they just couldn't remove him. He was getting the Mercy boost. He gets Bob, which also removes Fossman from the fight. He drops Bomb, but Bob doesn't miss, CP. No. Bob does not miss, so the Baby Diva goes down. You don't have a Diva. You don't have the damage mitigation or the ability to push KSP after that fight. And so XL2 are just able to stay in the fight long enough for the Supercharger to come out.
And the scary thing there is that there was a point where Tea Party numerically had fought that back to a reasonable degree, but it doesn't matter if you've destroyed almost everyone except for the Ashe that's doing by far the majority of damage for XL2 there. They needed more pressure onto the Ashe. It didn't happen. And the sad part there for Tea Party is that even though they had quite a bit of pressure there towards the end, they leave with nothing. No ticks whatsoever. The best they can do now is a draw.
Really, for Tea Party, sure, you can ignore the Ashe if you want, if that is going to be your strategy, but if you're going to ignore the Ashe and not put any resources into contesting, you need to be, Gig has to be going down. Gig needs to be completely just done. Like, Gig should not be able to stay alive, he should not be able to withstand your entirety of your assault. But the problem is, if you're not putting any of those resources in contesting KSP, it becomes a lot harder to just get on top of Gig, because KSP, speedily, Haku is just sitting on, they're just sitting on high ground, they're being mobile, they're moving you. Tea Party just not having the right idea, I think. Not the game plan they needed to deal with KSP and co.
The scary thing here for Tea Party is that also I don't think the Winston defense is the greatest for buying 3 minutes off the clock. Like, you can get solid 2-minute defense like they did before, but full holding XL2 here and forcing a draw, I think, will be difficult with this composition.
It's going to require some perfect play from Ace of Spades and also some for Fossman and Amadian. So far, been some playmakers for the squad to really step up.
Oh, Ace of Spades already having the leap out of there. I mean, it's a well-timed leap, good time support on Ace of Spades, but XL2, they make a lot of progress, and Ace of Spades only with 23% towards Primal.
Getting some more sleeve there, going to be jumping back because they want to overcommit. XL2 making this rotation to the high ground again. They were to move Tea Party from that high ground. They make their backline move. The Ace of Spades there to commit. Actually just drops the bubble and falls. Doesn't even try to get any creep damage at all.
That's a pretty big misplay coming on in. Gives XL2 the opportunity to go to the point. Remember, they only need one tech, but Amadian already finding one. Amadian's one that has to be dealt with. He's just sitting on top there. It's a Zarya turret. Unmoving. Just beaming people down. You can't give Zarya this much space.
Well, it's a double question of how does not only have Zarya this much space for sitting on the high ground not contested, but how does he have so much energy? How is Amadian possibly allowed to sit and have 90 energy while sitting on top of high ground? Because it's not just the self bubble, your ally bubbles getting value, but then that requires someone to actually be shooting Amadian too and not contesting him.
I mean, Amadian was under so little pressure. Again, that was the unmoving Zarya turret.
And he did it last time. He did the exact same thing on that last defense. Build that grab so fast. He's going to be outbuild KSP here. XL2 making this rotation again. But it's working against the clock for Tea Party, right? They need to burn off another 2 minutes. And XL2, they just need one good fight.
Well, one good thing here, I think Haku will probably get Transcendence in time for the Graviton. It is going to be the case. There was a short window for Madian to go with a really aggressive Graviton. They're going to hold it on back. It's going to be more of a trade.
See Madian just sitting on this high ground. So far, still not able to be touched. The gauge is out for Ace of Spades. There's the Primal.
XL2 moving on to that point. Tea Party getting to use the Primal. A little bit of disruption. Ace of Spades, though, getting just absolutely pummeled. Has to back out, but you know, the objective has been completed. XL2 pushed into a corner. Still quite winnable here for Tea Party as we're down to 1:20.
Now the question is, how does Tea Party finish up the frags on the point, though? Because XL2, they're where they want to be. The grab is out from Money, and there's the bomb for Bossman. He's going to drop from above.
The bomb right to the back here. Tea Party going to transcend later. XL2 on the overlay ults to a degree. As Tea Party moves in, they pick off 2, and they're in a really good spot to defend now as we enter the final minute.
And Ace of Spades getting another Primal as well, just getting so much clean damage from that grab in particular. So XL2 are making it to the point, but they just burned almost all of their ults and did not win the fight. Tea Party, this is looking extremely holdable.
Can we talk about Amadian's ult charge, by the way?
70%,
Use Grav,
yes.
Last fight, 70% now. That is a Sinatra level build.
Right now, if you're XL2, you're getting to point, but you're not dislodging the members on high ground. So your question has to be, well, maybe we need to remove these members on high ground. You need to isolate someone. If Tea Party are playing this rotationally based, this high ground base, holding the point is great if you're able to catch a frag, but they haven't been able to get a frag. They just need to isolate someone.
Well, also, at some point, someone please knock Amadian into the fray. You know, whether it has to be OG, whether it has to be Kirby, you can't give a Zarya this much room. Madian over the top, 100% energy. Shatter going to be coming in. Guess what? You can drop the grab here. Madian waiting for the opportunity. Shatter does not affect Tea Party too much. Move back in off the beat. They take down Kirby, and Madian just getting into the fray. And it's going to be Tea Party countering hold for hold. It's going to be a draw.
And that was disastrous from XL2. Actually disastrous. Sure, they don't lose the map, but that should have been absolutely won. Even with that last fight, Gig drops Shatter, puts Antal on the ground, who has beat. Sure, let's remove Beat from the fight. That would have been great. No Lucio, no Beat. They don't get Antal. They're not able to pick him up at all. They're not finding any frags when they were playing that 3-3 with the Rhine. Your whole thing when you're moving against more mobile goats is you isolate someone, and they're not isolating anybody.
That was just messy from XL2. And again, I'm going to go back where there's multiple different areas where you look at it and go, guys, what were you thinking? But more than anything else, Zarya does a lot of damage in these compositions. You can't just let the Zarya stand still and just track your entire team to death.
Well, the question is how do you remove the one thing that Tea Party was doing very well is how do you remove Amadian from the high ground? Because he's saving bubbles for himself. They have armor pack. They have a D.Va to go peel for him as well. So if they're going to commit to removing him from there, they also need to make sure that he's not so charged. He simply cannot be so charged while playing high ground Zarya.
Yes.
That it just should not be possible, because you can remove them a lot easier when you have 50 charge on Zarya, as opposed when it's a 90 charge Zarya with a self bubble still available. It becomes so much harder for your diva to push up. So the charge battle definitely being won for Tea Party.
Yeah, because I mean, at some level there, the only way is you have a Madian gang to that level of charge is that you're feeding his own bubble at that point. So regardless, XL2 running into some trouble there, and still very winnable for Tea Party.
Yeah, the series is not over by any means. The draw keeping them in it. It wouldn't be over either way, but definitely the draw important for them.
Well, guys, that was our first half in the books. Tea Party still staying alive. Will XL2 bring it back at the other half? We'll see.